Hi everyone, and welcome to the MFT YouTube channel. It's Karolyn here, and I'm back this month with another interactive card video for you. When I saw the January release, I knew that the Heart Tree die would work perfectly with the Peekaboo wheel dies, and I can't wait to show you how easy it is. I started off by die cutting the wheel from the Peekaboo wheel dies from some heavyweight Yupo paper. I used Yupo because it's sturdy and it takes alcohol inks like they were meant to be together. I'm adding a few drops of flamingo alcohol ink to one side of a felt pad that's attached to my mini ink blending tool, and I'm just brushing that onto the Yupo with a straight smearing action. And that'll do the same thing with some sunset orange alcohol ink. The idea is to smear the inks onto the Yupo and overlap the colors just a bit to help them blend. I'll do this exact same sequence of steps with some sunshine yellow, citrus, pool, and purple alcohol inks. And I should mention that I used a clean felt pad for each color. Once I have a line of each color laid down onto the Yupo, I can go back and blend the colors together even more by going over them with the same pads that I used before. If they start to feel a little dry or aren't blending anymore, feel free to add a few more drops and smear them together until you're satisfied with the results. I'm just in love with this alcohol ink technique. But I will say that it's messy. I've been working on my Smart Grid pad, but I really should be working on a surface that's easily cleaned with alcohol because the colors definitely bleed through paper. I should also be wearing gloves, but I just love living on the edge. And besides, it's super easy to clean up your hands by using an alcohol wipe or even some hand sanitizer. Anything with alcohol in it will work. I wonder if beer or wine would work. Maybe I'll try that next time. Okay, I've blended and reblended these colors together to finally get it to the place where I'm happy with my results. Now let's get to the fun part. I'm positioning the wheel onto a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel of smooth white cardstock just to get an idea of where everything should be on my panel. Once I have it where I want it, I'll use the wheel to help me position the notch die from the Peekaboo Wheel Dynamics. Only the notch cuts. The prongs on either side of the notch are there to help you get straight alignment with your card panel. They don't actually cut when you run them through your die cutting machine. And now I can cut the outside edge with the largest of the dies from set 2 of the A2 Rectangle Stacks Dynamics. I've placed the wheel back onto the image panel and I'm using a piercing tool and foam mat to poke the wheel hole through to the image panel. And then I'll place the Heart Tree die onto the wheel to help me get an idea of where I need to place the die on the image panel. Once I figure that out, I can remove the wheel, secure the Heart Tree die to the image panel, and die cut it with my Big Shot. Now I'm poking all of the die cut pieces out with my piercing tool. You'll notice that the wheel hole landed on the trunk of the tree. This is exactly where I want it, and you'll see why later. I've trimmed a piece of 3 by 5 inch acetate that I'll use to adhere to the back of the tree opening. This will give me a place to secure the wheel to the back of the image panel as well as a surface to adhere the tree trunk. I'm placing pieces of 1/8 inch double-sided tape to each edge of the acetate. Once the tape is all in place, I'll pull back the release paper from each strip, but only halfway. I'll bend the release paper to the outside edge so that when I go to adhere the acetate to my panel, it'll give me a little bit of wiggle room before I secure it down permanently. Once I have it in place, I can pull those release paper tabs and secure it down with my fingers. Now I need to poke a hole through the acetate so that I can secure the wheel to the image panel. So I once again pull out my handy-dandy piercing tool and foam mat. And because I'm a little neurotic, I'm using a long arm 1/16 inch hole punch to clean that acetate hole up a little bit. I don't want anything in the way of my wheel turning like it's supposed to. This is probably an unnecessary step, but I just can't help myself. I die cut the Heart Tree from some black licorice cardstock, but I'm only going to use the trunk because this will help me disguise the brad that I'll use to attach the Peekaboo wheel to the image panel. My piercing tool comes to the rescue once again. And now I can place the wheel behind the image panel and attach it with my brad. I'm placing the brad on the back of the panel to eliminate the bulk of the brad head. And even though I missed filming this step, I clipped off a good portion of the brad prongs with my metal snips, the same ones that I used to snip apart my dies. I'm using the head of my piercing tool to press down the prongs for one last attempt at minimizing the bulk. I'll use some quick-drying liquid adhesive, like Glossy Accents or Diamond Glaze, to adhere the tree trunk to the image panel, and I'm trying to avoid putting any adhesive near the brad prongs. The glue dries pretty fast, but I'll just hold it in place with my fingers to give it a little help. Next, I'm prepping a piece of black licorice cardstock with my magic powder bag, and I'm stamping a sentiment from the new Rainbows and Unicorns stamp set using Sweet Tooth pigment ink. The Sweet Tooth pigment ink is my favorite ink to use when I'm stamping onto black cardstock, because I feel like I get an opaque white result when I heat emboss it with white embossing powder. But if you don't have that, you can use Versamark or your favorite embossing ink. I'm using the largest of the essential Fishtail flag sentiment strip dies to die cut the sentiment. And since the die is longer than the sentiment, I'll do a partial die cut, reposition the die on the other end, and finish the cut to fit the sentiment. I'm scoring a piece of 4 1/4 inch by 11 inch black licorice cardstock at 5 1/2. I'll fold it in half and perfect the crease with my Teflon bone folder. This will be my card base. I can now start assembling the rest of the card. I've added foam squares to the back of the image panel, making sure not to put any adhesive in areas that might keep the wheel from moving smoothly, and I'll adhere it to the card base. And then I'll adhere the sentiment strip with more foam squares. And I decided to put it right smack dab in the middle of the tree trunk. I'll admit, though, that I struggled with all that white space both above and below the tree. I kind of wish I'd placed the tree a little bit lower, just to offset it a little bit, but it is what it is, and I'm okay with it. As a final finishing touch, I added some little hearts that I die cut from Razzleberry cardstock using Tag Builder Blueprints 5. I'm adhering them with the same liquid adhesive that I used for the tree trunk because this stuff dries really fast. I think those little hearts really finish off and bring together the whole spirit of this card, don't you? And here's what it looks like all finished. When you turn the peekaboo wheel, the colors of the tree change from one happy rainbow splash to another. It turned out exactly how I had imagined. And that, my friends, will do it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed watching and that you've picked up a few new tips and tricks for the peekaboo wheel dynamics and the new Heart Tree dynamics along the way. Be sure and check out the other videos on the MFT YouTube channel for more great content. And until next time, have an awesome day.